Hey, good citizens of the world. It's the Sharon Harris Experience here on SiriusXM Studio 54 Radio. And today's guest, I didn't do a bio for him. I didn't do a bio for you.
Yeah. You don't have to. Actually, I'm not a bio person.
You are not.
Every time they've asked me to do a bio at work, I'm like, oh my God, I hate it. It feels so braggadocious to me.
Right.
Like where you're just going on a whole tangent about yourself.
And I'm fabulous, and I'm this, and I'm that. Yes. I'm just so fabulous. But I do love hearing your voice in my cans.
Oh my God, thank you. Nobody has ever said that to me.
Well, I do. It's very pleasing to me. I have ADAM GONZALEZ with me today. Hey, Adam.
Yes. Hey, Sharon. How you doing?
So, MTV Cribs,
yes.
Real Life.
Yes. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack here. Believe me, this may be an interesting ride. So I hope you guys are ready to, get your seatbelts on and go with it. Just strap up and strap up. We're going on a journey.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. So, MTV was, I think, the entree for a lot of us into marrying visuals and music. And it's really grown into so much more, into being kind of like the leader in entertainment culture. Mm-hmm. You look so serious right now.
Oh, no, because I'm listening to you, because you're, I was like, oh, this is so nice.
I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen Adam so serious.
I'm listening to you, Sharon. I'm trying to be respectful.
You're trying to be respectful. You're like hanging on to my every word.
Oh my God. I mean, because your voice, here's the thing. I've always wondered about radio voices, because everybody, they have a radio voice, or you have, everyone talks about that. You actually do have a radio voice and you are attractive, which is so nice. You know what I mean? Because I've met a couple of people that are on the radio that I did not think they would look like that when I met them in person. So this is pleasant for me. So be able to look at you.
That's so
and
sweet.
hear your sexy, beautiful voice.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the thing about reality television a lot of times is like people tend to just slap music on it, without like really thinking about what it is. I'm like so specific about the lyrics. So if it's a popular track, like licensing music, like I still do that. And I think it's important, and I think it's important for the artists and stuff to be able to license their music and put it in. And, especially artists that spend a lot of time and put a lot of their heart and life into their lyrics. And I'm really specific about the lyrics, because I'm like, oh, this lyric speaks to this particular individual that is on the show, or this moment is great to have this track because this track makes you feel X, Y, or Z. Okay. So to me, it's super important. So a lot of my shows, I have a significant music budget just because it's really important to me to have licensed popular music tracks, things that are current, sometimes things in the more retro vibe and stuff like that, depending on what the show is. But it's super, like, I've always been really big about music. That can make or break, to me, any show.
Any show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so getting into this area, because there are these people that do these jobs such as yours, and it's always like, how did that happen?
How did I get into this?
Yeah.
It's super crazy. So it's funny because when I was a kid, I was obsessed with MTV. And I said all the time, I was like, I want to work there one day. Like as a kid, right? When I was super young, it was Nickelodeon, which is still in the Viacom world. And then it all transferred to MTV, and I was obsessed. And that was in the heyday. I went to school for theater originally, right?
No.
I moved to New York. I know, I'm pretty theatrical. I went to school for theater. I moved to New York City when I was 18 years old. I came from Jacksonville, Florida, which is like at the time especially, was a very it's like a country town, let's put it that way. Yeah. And they weren't very accepting of me. I used to call myself a quadruple threat because I was fat, gay, wore glasses, and I was Latin. So it was like too much for the Jacksonville audience to take in at once.
Okay, I get it.
So the moment that I could get out, I went to New York City. Okay. And then I studied theater. I went to grad school at Columbia.
Okay.
Studied there. And then I realized, theater is just kind of boring. The business of theater, right? I wasn't performing, I was producing. So then I was like, I need something a little bit more exciting.
Alrighty.
And I had a group of friends that had all worked in television. Then I made the transition. I moved from theater to casting, and then casting, I just basically did freelance jobs all the way until I basically landed on producing Mob Wives for VH1. So I did basically all of Mob Wives. And that was kind of a turning point in my career, was doing that wacky show, which I loved, but Mob Wives for 6 seasons straight through. I did every single season. I did every spinoff. I did every reunion and after show and everything. And that was kind of what kind of kickstarted me. And if anybody has watched Mob Wives, the music was a huge part of Mob Wives.
Yes.
It became like cinematic, and we got really into it from even just the show open, you know, the Big Bang track that was done by Rock Mafia, like became a little bit more popular because of Mob Wives. So Mob Wives was like a turning point, and meeting who's now the president of the company of MTV, Nina Diaz, was like a turning point in my life. And then after Mob Wives, I just moved internally to Paramount. But it was crazy coming up in the industry. Like it was the time when it was like fighting to try to get the next gig, get the next job, crack into the industry. It was like at an all-time high. Reality shows were like, you know, a dime a dozen. There were so many shows going on. It was like, you know, the height. I mean, I was, you know, when the Jersey Shore was out, I was working for TLC, on a show for TLC. And it was just like that big, you know what I mean? So it was, there was a lot of competition. But I basically did anything I could possibly do in the industry on top of, to pay my bills, doing little side jobs. Like I would do the weirdest shit, Sharon. I literally would do the weirdest shit in order to make some money.
Oh,
but not like that, Sharon. I wish I was that sexy to be able to sell my body, but it did not happen.
I'll trade stories if you want. Okay. I know people will want to. That may have to be a different podcast.
Yeah, that would be a different
podcast. Well, you know what? Find me on was that OnlyFans?
OnlyFans. You got the toes out, Sharon? Are you selling pictures of your toes?
Not my toes.
From toes to tatas, maybe. I don't know.
Well, who knows? Do tell.
I love it. OnlyFans has been. I like OnlyFans.
I've never really I've just kind of checked it out peripherally.
It's not. I like the idea behind it. I think that our society's come a long way in order to have like an OnlyFans and it be acceptable. Let's put it that way. Yeah. It's like sex positivity has gone so far, and since from when I was a kid till now. So I'm like into that. I'm like, yeah, show your shit if you want to. Well,
you know, and that's a whole other conversation that I have been having in terms of, you know, especially coming out of the 70s, the 80s, the promiscuity that was happening, you know, the revealing outfits that and now it's really over the top when you're looking at culture and you're looking at people that are just basically have nothing on. However, whatsoever. No, whatsoever. I love that word. Whatsoever it is has got to be funky. I love that. That's my favorite. I love those little euphemisms. But however, the thing that I find really, really interesting is that if you go to Europe, like I'll never forget, I was in Monte Carlo. I will never forget this. I was in Monte Carlo, and you know, there are topless beaches, right? So there's like people frolicking on the topless beach. Yeah. And then I see this elderly woman on the topless beach with her tatas just deflated.
And God love her.
Yeah, but here was the thing. I was like, okay, first of all, when I was like, I can still see it. I cannot unsee it. But what struck me was that it was just so natural. It was really just like, this is our body. This is what my body is doing at this age. And that's it. And I'm embracing who I am. And it wasn't about sexuality. We sexualize in this country. We sexualize everything, which I think goes back to why we cover up, why we make other people. Everybody has a body. Everybody has a butt. Everybody has their, you know, private areas. Everybody has boobs. Some men have boobs. Some men need bras. Come on. Yeah. Let's just call it what it is. You know, like I see men topless on the internet upset. Sometimes I'm like, dude, you need like a double D, you know?
Nice cup.
And that, yeah, here, let me see what I have that I can't wear anymore. But I mean, but that's the truth. That's the truth. So, you know, I think, you know, in your role, you know, with MTV, you just get to see so much. But
oh my God, if I told you, well, let's just put it this way, and I'm not going to put a can of worms like that, but if I told you the amount, it's so funny because I'm gay, the women on all my shows, like, and I do a lot of primarily, like, you know, I did a huge female-based show for a long time, but I love men too. Let's not get to it. Not like sexually, but sexually, yes, but not just sexually. Like, I actually love men. But women, the thing about it is like, wait, I already lost my train of thought.
Oh, jeez.
What was that?
Jeez, Adam. I don't know. We're talking about boobs.
Oh, yeah, boobs. Because now I was like, wait, I got distracted by all the men. I was like, oh, let me get back to the men. No, but like women, I think that we always think that women, like that, they are always super comfortable. Here's what I was going to say. They're always super comfortable in front of me.
Right.
So the nudity thing with women, for me, even on set, is like nothing.
It's nothing. It's nothing. Yeah, and you know, and it happens, especially because and now women are, you know, of course, in the music world, really scantily clad, and I mean, I think that's what we were talking about. We were talking about how here it's still kind of like taboo to show a boob or show a butt or you know whatever, and I mean, it's a body part. So what?
I know.
So what? We were all born naked. I didn't have clothes on when I was born. No. You know, none of us did. So
yeah, Europe is definitely ahead.
Yeah, it's like cover up. So that's one thing that I think is, you know, they're just like these morals and, you know, but it's like, but it's natural at the same time. But that's like a whole other thing. But you know what I'd love to talk about?
Okay.
I'd love to talk about.
Yes.
Is how we met.
Okay. Yes. Let's do it.
How we met. I feel like this could be a show.
How we met? Yes, how we met.
How we met.
So, well, we met on set of Cribs, right? I was doing MTV Cribs. You were working with Macy Gray.
Yes.
Who I love, and that was wildest. Do you remember what happened when we pulled up to set there? Like Macy wasn't ready. You were like, hey.
Yeah, I was like, hey. She's never ready. I was like, oh, is that unusual? You're like, do you remember what? I'm like, well, she wasn't ready. She was probably like locked up in her room as usual.
Exactly.
And she has to make an entrance. That's the thing. She has to make an entrance. She likes being fashionably late.
Totally.
I don't think that that's a secret or anything, but I know you were like, hey.
I was like, hey. Well, the thing was, like, Macy has such a, like, a great personality, and she gets, for me anyway, from my perspective, I forgive her for a lot. Like, I'm like, okay, she's late, but it's Macy. I'm like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
She's very unique.
Yeah, and so you and I got to, like, know each other, which I thought was hilarious because you were so unaffected by everything that Macy was You were like, oh yeah. You're like, oh yeah, she'll do that. Oh yeah, she'll say that. She's going to be late.
Yeah. I was like, I'm kind of like the big sister.
Yes.
You know, I'm kind of like, you know, her big sister, like, yeah, I know. And, you know, I'm always like the voice of reason. And like you were saying, people are always like, oh, why you're always so unbothered.
Yes. It was fantastic. The thing that I loved about Macy was how she was going to be herself no matter what. So even when I was giving her direction on Cribs and stuff like that, she would kind of do it, but she would do the version of it that was Macy, which I loved even more. So like, as soon as I finished that shoot, I like called my post team and I was like, here's how this needs to be cut. I'm like, Macy is hilarious. Like, she got on her roller skates. She played her music. She argued with me about not opening the refrigerator. She would not open the fucking refrigerator.
She would not open the refrigerator. She's like, no, you are not going to look at... She was like so intentional. No, you are not going to look into my refrigerator.
Yes. And I made them play that in her segment. I was like, because I was yelling to her off camera.
Didn't I open the refrigerator? Did you? I opened the refrigerator.
I saw it, but we never had it on camera. You didn't get it on camera.
I saw her refrigerator's great, by the way.
Yes, it is. So I don't know what she's talking about.
It was like, it's a boundary thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't like to say yes too many times.
She really doesn't.
No.
Which I love too. It's so funny because I'm like, you know, you usually would be like, oh my God, that was a pain. But I was like, no, she was just her. And I like respected it so much.
Yeah. She didn't say, oh yeah, here's my closet. Did you go into her closet?
So no, she didn't go in the closet. But my favorite part was when she had this cable wire snaked around one of her doors and stuff. And she was looking at the cable wire and she was like, you know how people put this in, they put the cable wire and it like looks so good and blah, blah. And she's doing her whole Macy Gray. She's like, not here. She's like, it's halfway up the wall. It's all dangling and everything like that. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. I was like, I love her.
Yeah.
So I fell in love with Macy. I also fell in love with you that day.
Aww.
Which was great because I just had a new addition to my family, which is you, Sharon, and Macy. And
it's teary-eyed.
No, it's true. Like, it's like we all like kind of like bonded in a way. And that was when I was like, oh, I think Macy Gray deserves not only a comeback, but her flowers in a way. Because I think people sleep on Macy.
People sleep on Macy, and Macy's got a lot of brilliance. Like, okay, I'm going to be just really transparent. She drives a lot of us crazy.
Totally.
You know, totally. And that's what she does. But she, there is a brilliance to her. People don't understand how brilliant she is. So when somebody says, you know, Macy, Macy, blah, 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 I see this. I'm like, no, you don't understand how really brilliant this woman is.
She is a genius.
And she's also human. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Cause you know, I get pissed at Macy all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time. That's what I do. And other people do, but at the same time, it's like having that understanding, and she gets pissed at me too, by the way. It's not, it's not a one-way thing.
I think she gets pissed at me.
She gets pissed at everybody, which is kind of cute.
But I love
really
her.
Cute.
She's just like, literally, she is really a legend. And when she did, for those people who don't know, she's going to be on this season of The Surreal Life, which I also produce. And every single celebrity that's on the show this season has given her props, which I really appreciated. They all said she's a legend. She is a legend.
Yeah.
And I think Macy is, I think people think the persona of Macy means that she is not as intelligent as she truly is. She's like a fucking genius.
She's very shy. That's the thing about Macy. Like, I remember when one day we went to the movies. And she says, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the restroom. And we were at a movie theater that had a bar. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, I'll go hang out at the bar. And I'm like, where is she? She's not, where is she? And then I go, hey, where are you? She's like, hey, I called the car. I'm going home. I was like, girl.
You're like, I'm 3 drinks in.
I'm like, girl, seriously? It was so funny. There's so many, like, I could probably do a couple of episodes just on Macy alone. And I know that we can for sure because we chat and we have some fun, but it's all done in love because we do love her. And I think we understand her in a way that a lot of people don't.
And she knows that.
She knows that. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah. She really is.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, she brought us together. I literally, I probably wouldn't have met you, at least not this soon, had I not been there that day.
Right.
Which is nice. And so.
And you would always lean on me and like, hey, I need this and I need that.
Yes, totally.
And, and I can't tell you how much I love that song.
Fast Car?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did you see her on the Grammys though?
Yes.
She literally, I watched it like 15 times because she just exudes, I'm a good person. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like her face was just so beautiful and
peaceful. And
totally.
It's like, I'm fine with who I am, which I think is especially unique in an industry that can eat you alive, an industry that can be so destructive to artists. Mm-hmm. I was having a conversation. I had my daughter on earlier, which was really great.
She's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And, so she did an episode with me, and on the way here in the car, I asked her about Megan Thee Stallion. Mm-hmm. And I said, I saw a comment online about women in the music industry, and in particular, Megan Thee Stallion and Taylor Swift, especially after the Grammys. And my daughter says, yeah, it's true. Megan Thee Stallion gets shot. She gets dragged through the mud. People are saying, she's a man, she's not a woman, and Taylor Swift will get a paper cut, and then she's the damsel in distress.
Right.
And that was a comment that somebody made, and and London really kind of broke it down into what she say. She said it was misogyny noir. The misogyny of black women in the music industry, which I thought was really, really interesting, you know, and I thought about Donna Summer, how Donna Summer to me was the first woman who was, you know, sexualized to that in public, because, you know, we had many dance divas, but she had this image and how it bothered her also because she was a family woman.
Totally.
You know, so it's like all of those things and all of this imaging that happens and
totally. And I think that, and it's, you know, I think that in the music industry, I think some of it is going to get better because I think there's been an eruption that's happened. We knew that this, I've said for a while, I was surprised that it hadn't happened sooner, right? With everything that had gone on, especially like with the Me Too movement, Harvey Weinstein, all that drama and everything like that. I thought the music industry would get hit sooner, but it didn't. And it just came now. And I think that we have to appreciate strong women in music, like period. Like they are, first of all, I think when I'm talking about artists, 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about women. You know what I mean? In terms of music that I gravitate towards. And that could just be me. But just because I love women so much, you know what I mean? That could be me.
Could be.
But I mean, if you think about the icons and the people that have been out there, from a Diana Ross to a Whitney Houston and everything in between, you know what I mean? The women are game changers and they need to be respected more. And I think it's a societal thing. It's like a whole, like the country has to shift, and especially women of color. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that it's starting to progress and get better, but, and I hope it gets better and I hope it gets a lot better. But I think that, we all need to be better about it.
I think we just need to be better people.
Totally.
And I think, you know, I think everybody makes contributions because we, it's like when you diminish one so that you look good. And it happens to women, it happens with ethnicity, it happens with sexuality, you know, but it's like, I feel that those people who are pointing down to me, those are the bullies right there. Those are the bullies. And we have to understand that the bully is really the minority. You know, the bully is the minority, because if we look at all these majorities of people who are just wonderful people at the core, but then we look at the people who are being mean, who are being nasty to each other, who are just being dehumanizing, right? But they're also the same people who are controlling the narrative and controlling, you know, the music that we hear, and, you know, and saying, oh, you know, listen to rap music and listen to the lyrics, and, you know, and throwing, you know, people, low-level offenders in jail for non-violent crimes. It's like, who's doing that? And these are people who are very afraid, you know, but it all circles into, you know, into culture. It's in our music. It's in everything we do, because it all comes together.
Yeah. And listen, I will say this about current music versus, this is my personal opinion, Sharon. You tell me.
Adam, what is your personal opinion?
My personal opinion is people are, in this day and age, that's why so many, like, people are sampling so many tracks from back in the day, right? I feel like people are tapped out. Their creativity is not as good as it was. I'm sorry, lyrics are pretty not fantastic now. You know, when you hear lyrics back in music back in the day, you're like, oh, this even just like that. I said Tracy Chapman, right? That song is like a poem, and it's deep, and you listen to the lyrics and you're like, oh my God, I feel it. I feel it in the music. And I feel like nowadays it's like, look at just even this summer, I've been looking for like tracks, like new tracks to put into the shows and stuff like that. There's very few.
Yeah. And there are a lot of indie. There are some indie people. I gotta hook you up with London. London's such a curator. Like, I get new music from London all the time because she feels music. She's, you know, her taste is not frivolous. Her taste isn't, I mean, it feels good, but there's also meaning behind it, and her sensibility. But, you know, but the thing is, you're right. When you're looking at mainstream music,
that's what I'm talking about. Mainstream.
When you're looking at mainstream music, it's been dumbed down. somebody, Bernard Wright, dearly, who left us a couple of years ago, was a brilliant musician. He made a comment that he was one of the last of the generation that was able to benefit from music in the schools. Mm-hmm. And by not having music in the schools, it really made an impact on just everything, on our communities, on culture, and giving kids something to do, on the ability for kids to learn, for, how they're thinking. Mm-hmm. There's so many moving parts because we don't value the arts and teaching and understanding how it affects the sensibilities.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to do it so quick.
And then, it becomes quick. But even like for you being a student of